Daily, Moon Jae-yeon. Please go ahead. Good afternoon. My name is Moon Jae-yeon from Hanguk, a daily newspaper. I would like to thank both of you for making dedicated efforts to ensure the democracy of Korea. My questions will go to each of you. Minister Jo first. Of course, you are saying that the trust in the Korean democracy has been restored. However, there are still disruptions going on due to the imposition of martial law. So what are your plans to restore the confidence, the full trust, and what do you believe is the cause of this?
Today, I have two questions for you. First, is the U.S. government still in grave concern with the political situation in South Korea? Secondly, President Biden has portrayed the world as the battle between democracy and autocracy. Yet, with all due respect, the United States' biggest allies, including us, South Korea, have underlined these very values. Why do you think the Biden administration's leadership was not strong enough to convince its ally countries to promote democracy in practice?
Let me address the questions first. Martial law was declared, and we have been making efforts to handle the situation. That, I believe, revealed both the democratic resilience of the country and also our vulnerabilities as well. So it had a dual side. If you focus just on the vulnerabilities with a magnifying glass, maybe you would feel that you are uncertain about the future of Korea. But I believe that the international community is focusing on the resilience, and I believe that that's the right way to assess the future of the country. Therefore, the strong democratic resilience in our society, as well as our people's mature civic mindset, are valuable assets that I can leverage to swiftly stabilize our foreign relations and restore the international community's confidence. Liberal democracy and a market economy are the fundamental values of our Constitution and invaluable assets that we have built over the past 70 years. As such, I believe that there should be no wavering in pursuing those goals and vision, and doing so, I believe, is the goal of our diplomacy, and we will work together with our ally, value-based ally, the United States, to be able to do so. And these efforts, as was mentioned by Secretary Blinken, will be maintained irrespective of the new government in either the U.S. or Korea. We will continue to work with the Trump administration based on the values-based alliance for all of the policies and actions that we will take going forward. We will closely coordinate.
So we had serious concerns about some of the actions that President Yoon took. We communicated those directly to the government. At the same time, we have tremendous confidence in the resilience of South Korea's democracy, in the strength of its institutions, and in the efforts that it's making to work through those institutions, pursuant to the Constitution and the rule of law, to resolve differences and to do so peacefully. And that actually gets right to the heart of the second part of your question. What sets democracies apart from other systems is precisely how we respond to challenges, including internal challenges. And what sets democracies apart, democracies like the United States and the Republic of Korea, is the fact that when we have differences, when we have challenges to our systems, we don't pretend they don't exist. We don't ignore them. We don't sweep them under the rug. We confront them. We deal with them openly, transparently, and sometimes that's painful. Sometimes that's not pleasant to look at, but it goes to the very strength of our systems. And as our countries respond in different ways to different challenges, when we do so according to a constitution, according to the rule of law, and resolve differences peacefully, that is actually the strength of our systems and a strength that the Republic of Korea is reasserting today.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. Next, we are ready to take a question from the U.S. media outlet. From New York Times, Edward Wang, please go ahead.
Thank you, both of you. Mr. Secretary, it's appropriate you just spoke about the importance of democracy on the 4th anniversary of the violence of January 6th in the U.S. I'm wondering, you and Mr. Biden both hailed President Yoon as a champion of democracy, and you allowed him to hold the 3rd Summit for Democracy here in Korea. Why were you and President Biden both blindsided by his anti-democratic power grab? And do you regret placing your earlier faith in Mr. Yoon? And a related question, yesterday I watched as Mr. Yoon's supporters amassed in the streets near our hotel, and they held up Stop the Steal signs in English and waved American flags and also chanted Stop the Steal. Clearly an appeal to President-elect Trump for help, given Trump's own attempt before and during January 6th to stay in power. I'd like your honest assessment of how the rapid erosion of democratic norms in America has impacted South Korea and other countries. And for Mr. Choi, when Mr. Yoon, your president, declared martial law based on accusations of subversive forces in your own country, he appeared to be adopting strategies similar to the ones that autocrats in North Korea, Russia, and China used to stay in power. Why has their head of government gone in the same political direction as their national enemies and rivals? And how are you dealing with the tensions this has created with the United States? Thank you.
So, Ed, I don't want to repeat the answer I just gave, but it's fundamentally the same. All of our countries face challenges, and again, the hallmark of any democracy is in our response to those challenges. And what I said earlier, and what I would reassert, is that the response here in Korea to this most recent challenge, a response that's going forward, again, pursuant to the Constitution, following the rule of law, and peacefully, is what we've seen and what we fully expect. Korea has been an extraordinary partner for the United States over many decades, but in particular, these last 4 years. And we've seen that in the work that we're doing together, not only bilaterally between our countries, not only in dealing with regional challenges, but increasingly globally. And it's not just security, it's economic, it's innovative, it's people to people. And we've seen the assertion of Korea as a global actor. And I think that's one of the most positive developments that we've seen in recent years. Korea's brand is remarkably strong. The story of its democratic trajectory and success, the strength of its economy, the innovative power of its people. And when a country, whether it's ours or Korea, faces a challenge, the measure is how we respond. And again, as I said, the response that we're seeing and that we expect to continue to see is one that is peaceful and fully consistent and in accordance with the Constitution and the rule of law. And again, at the risk of repeating myself, I think what we've seen in our own country, as well as in other democracies that have faced challenges, has been a response that's open, that's transparent, that doesn't pretend we don't have problems or challenges, that confronts them directly. And time and again, what we've seen is our countries emerge stronger from those challenges. Now, it's vitally important, essential, that as we respond to challenges, we do so in accordance with the rule of law, with the Constitution, with our democratic principles. And if and as we do that, I believe that will only reinforce the strength of our democracies.
장관님께서도 간단히
마지막 질문이
Was there a question posed to me as well?
I can repeat it. I was saying earlier that your president, Mr. Yoon, when he declared martial law based on accusations of subversive forces in South Korea, he was adopting the same strategies that autocrats in North Korea, Russia, and China use to stay in power. Why has their head of government gone in this political direction? And how do you deal with the tensions this has created with the United States?
네, 저는 그 질문.
I thought that the question was directed to Secretary Blinken. In Korea, There was an incident that took place 1 month ago, and for you to be able to understand the situation, rather than trying to understand the general context, you have to understand the specific culture and political culture and the history and the ups and downs along the history. You would have to understand the full picture of the Korea as a nation, rather than trying to understand it from the perspective of the democratic theory. If you do that, you wouldn't be able to find the correct answer to the whole situation. Korea was able to achieve democracy and economic growth over a very short span of time. But as I mentioned previously, during that process, there were some vulnerabilities that we were unable to detect ourselves. And we are here where we are without understanding those vulnerabilities. So those hidden vulnerabilities and weaknesses were revealed due to a certain incident, explosive way, and that is the reason that we are having a situation that we never imagined that we would have currently. This is something that we cannot overcome in any short time. This is something that our politicians, the political circles, will have to make concerted efforts to overcome. We need to overcome division so that we can heal ourselves and bring ourselves together for national harmony. To be able to do that, we would have to mobilize the intellectuals of the country so that we can overcome such deep divisions. To the ROK-US relations, I do not understand how much of damage it has caused to that, but during the past month, I have been trying to talk with Secretary Blinken and many members of the U.S. administration and political circles, and I was able to confirm that there is full trust and confidence in Korea as a nation on the part of the U.S. That was something that I was able to affirm myself. And based on such strong confidence and alliance, our bilateral relations will continue to move forward. That is something that I can be sure about. I do not have any insecurities on that.
이제 다시
Thank you very much. Now we are back to taking questions from the Korean media. From the Korea Herald, Ji Da-kyun, please go ahead with your question.
I'd like to take this opportunity during your ferry trip to Seoul to ask you two questions regarding North Korea policy and trilateral cooperation. North Korea launched a ballistic missile earlier today in what appears to be a symbolic gesture overlapping with your final visit to Seoul and Tokyo. And some critics argue that there has been a lack of proactive engagement and limited visible progress in curbing North Korea provocation and advancing dialogue with North Korea. And how would you assess the Biden administration's overarching policy approach toward North Korea? And what do you view as the administration's key achievement and shortcomings in addressing North Korean issues? And finally, what lessons learned would you recommend the Trump administration's consider to more effectively to address North Korean issues and foster stability in the region? And secondly, the Camp David Summit has been a landmark achievement in strengthening trilateral cooperation among the U.S., South Korea, and Japan. However, with the Trump administration set to take office next January and political uncertainties furthering in South Korea, concerns have emerged about the durability and sustainability of this trilateral framework. Given this development, what specific steps or institutional measures would you recommend to the Trump administration's prioritize to ensure this trilateral partnership remains robust and resilient?
Thank you very much. So with regard to the DPRK, first, as I said earlier, we condemn yet another violation of multiple Security Council resolutions with the reported missile launch. What we've worked to do over these last 4 years is two things. First, we have sought to engage the DPRK and multiple efforts to sit down, to talk without any preconditions. We communicated that on many occasions. We've done it privately, we've done it publicly. And the only response effectively we've gotten has been more and more provocative actions, including the missile launches. So it is not for want of seeking engagement and trying to find a way forward through diplomacy. But at the same time, we haven't stood still. On the contrary, we have in historic ways strengthened our common defense and common deterrence. We've done that bilaterally, including through the work of the Nuclear Consultative Group, and that I expect to meet in the coming days again. We've done it in reinforcing, in very practical ways, the alliance between the United States and the Republic of Korea, and we've done it trilaterally with Japan. And the spirit of Camp David is now manifesting itself, as I mentioned, in more than 36 practical initiatives, notably in the security realm, but also economics, people to people, that is bringing our countries closer together, demonstrating practical results for the people, and enhancing our defense and our deterrence when it comes to the DPRK. And precisely for those reasons, I fully expect it to continue. It's manifestly in the interests of the people in all three of our countries. We have seen, among other things, just recently, the establishment of a permanent secretariat to manage the work of the trilateral process. I've heard positive statements across the political spectrum here in the Republic of Korea in support of that work. I'll be going to Tokyo from here, and I fully expect as well that I'll hear a reaffirmation of a commitment to the trilateral process. And in fact, again, today's launch is just a reminder to all of us of how important our collaborative work is, including on real-time information sharing, including on the exercises we're engaged in on a trilateral basis. All of that and more is a strong and effective response to the provocations from North Korea. So I have confidence that because it's so in the interest of all of us, it will continue, and future administrations, whether it's here, whether it's in the United States, whether it's Japan, will continue to build on the work that we've done together.
네, 마지막으로
Last but not least, I will give a chance to a U.S. journalist from the AFP, Sean Tandon. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Foreign Minister. Thanks for doing this. Could I follow my Korean colleagues some questions about North Korea? Sorry, there. I'll try again with the microphone. If I could follow up some my Korean colleagues' questions on North Korea. Mr. Secretary, you just said that you're seeing signs that Russia is expanding satellite and space cooperation. Could you elaborate on that? What time frame do you see? What type of risk do you have? And for both of you, South Korea, what role could it play increasingly in Ukraine? Is there still consideration of weapons to help Kyiv? And do you have any more information right now about North Korea, what they might be doing in Ukraine? On Ukraine, it's been reported that the Ukrainians have launched a counteroffensive, an expanded counteroffensive today in Kursk. Do you have any information on that and where you think that's going? Mr. Secretary, if you allow me, could I ask one question from somewhere else in the world? The Middle East. There have been reports that Hamas has formalized a list of initial hostages to be released. Red McKirk is in the region. Do you think now we are closer to a ceasefire deal? Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Sean. And appreciate the very impressive effort to bring multiple questions and multiple theaters together in one. Thank you.
Trying to put the themes together.
Appreciate that. With regard to this two-way street that I described in the relationship between Russia and the DPRK, what we're seeing is not only the provision of artillery, ammunition, and troops by North Korea to Russia for its aggression against Ukraine, but we are seeing collaboration, support coming in the other direction. Russia's already providing military equipment to the DPRK. It's providing training. We believe that it has the intent to share space and satellite technology with the DPRK. And that concern is very much a focus that not only the United States, but also the Republic of Korea and Japan are bringing to bear, and very much part of our conversations. I think it underscores, as I mentioned as well, increasingly what we're seeing around the world, which is the indivisibility of security. The indivisibility of security between the Atlantic and Pacific theaters. It's manifested by the fact that right now, the biggest ongoing drivers that are allowing Russia to continue its aggression against Ukraine are coming in part from the DPRK, with artillery, with ammunition, with troops, and China in terms of its support, or the support of its companies, for Russia's defense industrial base. And I think that's been a big eye-opener to allies and partners in Europe, and also explains their intense focus on the Indo-Pacific, just as it motivates many of our partners in this region. In Ukraine itself and in Kursk, what we've been doing every single day is to try to make sure that Ukraine has in hand what it needs to effectively defend itself against the ongoing Russian aggression. And as well, to make sure that if in the coming year there is a negotiation, there are discussions of a ceasefire, Ukraine has the strongest possible hand to play. And of course, the Ukrainians themselves are trying to make sure that they have that strong hand. Their position in Kursk is an important one, because certainly it's something that would factor in to any negotiation that may come about in the coming year. I think it's going to be very, very important that if this gets to a point where there is a negotiation and where there is eventually a ceasefire, it be done on the best possible terms and consistent with something that is both just and durable. And part of that is going to be the imperative of making sure that there are adequate security assurances of one kind or another for Ukraine to prevent further Russian aggression. Because what we know is this: if there is going to be, at some point, a ceasefire, it's not going to be, in Putin's mind, game over. His imperial ambitions remain. And what he will seek to do is to rest, to refit, and eventually reattack. And the critical difference that needs to be established is making sure that there's an adequate deterrent in place so that he doesn't do that he thinks twice, 3 times before engaging in any reaggression. But meanwhile, our purpose is to make sure that the Ukrainians are as strengthened as possible and that they have a strong hand to play. Finally, with regard to the Middle East, and in particular the ceasefire negotiations, as you know, and as we've talked about many times, we've been working intensely to bring this agreement, to bring this plan that President Biden put forward back in May, and that the entire world got behind, country after country standing up, supporting the proposal that President Biden put forward. The UN Security Council voting 14-0 in favor of it. We're working very hard to bring that over the finish line. And what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is a re-intensified engagement, including by Hamas, but we have yet to see agreement on the final points. So what I can tell you is this: we very much want to bring this over the finish line in the next 2 weeks, the time that we have remaining. And we will work every minute of every day of those 2 weeks to try to get that to happen. If we don't get it across the finish line in the next 2 weeks, I'm confident that it will get to completion at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And when it does, it will be on the basis of the plan that President Biden put forward and that virtually the entire world supports. We need Hamas to make the final necessary decisions to complete the agreement and to fundamentally change the circumstance for the hostages, getting them out, for people in Gaza, bringing them relief, and for the region as a whole, creating an opportunity to actually move forward to something better, more secure for everyone involved.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. This concludes the joint press availability for the Iraq-U.S. Foreign Ministers meeting. Thank you.